Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Machines and Medicine, a podcast from Syntegon. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Moody. Today, we're talking about nutraceuticals, a rapidly growing group of products that are categorized under food, but are also used for medicinal purposes. With me to talk about nutraceutical products is Benjamin Stephan. Ben is the Technical Project and Marketing Director from Biogrund. After starting with the company in 2011, Ben has held multiple roles across marketing and sales, as well as acquiring a deep knowledge of all things production, sourcing, purchasing, quality control, development, and application technology within the company. He's a man of many talents. With several years of responsibility across Western and Southern Europe, as well as India under his belt, Ben has had growing responsibility at Biogrund's U.S. site since 2014. In November 2019, he transferred from Biogrund Germany to Biogrund US in Shelbyville, Kentucky, where he is responsible for sales, marketing, the technical application laboratory, and customer service team. Biogrund is the worldwide specialist for homogeneous mixing of excipients and carriers in the dietary supplement and pharmaceutical industry. Their approach offers assistance from development to production of solid oral dosage forms. Biogrund's products play an important role in improving OSD products, making them safer and easier to take. Hi, Ben. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Laura. How are you today?
I'm great. And yourself?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
Happy to have you here. So many of our listeners, myself included, are likely more familiar with pharmaceuticals, but less acquainted with the Nutra field. Can you give us a definition of what a nutraceutical product is to kick us off?
Yes, of course. So nutraceutical products or supplements, both ways or both names are possible. You can just go to the store and buy them. There are a lot of different brands out there, but basically it is there to supplement your nutrition. So whatever you think you can't get from your food, you can take as a capsule, as a tablet, whatsoever, to be more healthy and to achieve the goals that you want to achieve.
I've definitely seen supplements all over the grocery store, typically in the health food section. So yes. I see them more. I hear about them more. My friends, my family, they take supplements. What I've been reading about says that field, the nutraceutical field, is growing rapidly at a rate from anywhere from 4 to 10% annually. Do you know approximately how large the Nutra industry is and if this growth rate is sustainable?
So this growth rate, I think that you're talking about is correct. I think there was a big spike at the beginning of 22 that we have seen, that our customers have seen. From my research, and I'm based in the US, so there's roughly 104 billion in 2020, roughly 112 billion in 2021. So, and that includes not only the supplements, because supplements might as well include functional foods like bars, granolas, etc., but as well functional drinks. So that's kind of the figures that I found in the internet. But the growth rate, I think it's sustainable. It's still happening. The nutraceutical industry is developing and adjusting very quickly. So yeah, I think that's will be on the next years.
Because you've been in the industry for so long, how have you seen this Nutra industry change in the last 10 years? And what's driving that change?
So what I believe is, when I started Biogrund and worked with several customers, that the marketing or the research departments of the brands or the manufacturers, that they had ideas that they wanted to bring out to their consumers. And then in the last 10 years, this has shifted so that the consumers actually started to have demands, what they want, what they don't want. And that was really highly influencing the industry. So the industry actually had to react on those demands by the consumers. For example, the clean label trend, this is something where we can see that very, very direct.
Wow. Well, I do want to talk about that clean labeling topic a little bit later in our discussion. But before we get to that, I thought you could give us a brief rundown of the differences between Nutra and Pharma from your point of view, from your company's point of view.
Yeah. So basically, the biggest difference, obviously, is the regulatory part, right? So there are different regulatory differences in regards what you can use, what kind of quality the ingredients have to be, and as well what kind of pigments you have to use. So we do a lot of coatings with different colors. Some of them are suitable for pharma, some of them are suitable for Nutra, some of them are suitable for both. But obviously, as well, every country has different rules for that as well. Another big difference is that in the pharmaceutical industry, you have more excipients in your products. For example, in a tablet, we speak about 80% or maybe even higher of excipients and only 20% or less of actives. Obviously, there are exceptions as well, but in the Nutra industry, it's the other way around. So the amount of actives is way higher. So we have a lot of customers contacting us. Okay, look, I want to have a tablet with 95% of actives, vitamins, minerals, etc., and want to keep the amount of excipients as low as possible. So I see the regulatory and the amount of actives, that these two are the biggest difference in pharma and food. Obviously, there are more controls for pharma products, but for me, that's kind of a regulatory part as well.
That helps set the stage for some of these follow-up questions that I have for you. Right now, I want to get granular, and that pun is intended. What components make up an oral solid dose, and how are these elements different with regard to the different dosage forms? And then let me add on to that so you can have multiple questions to answer here. How does that change when we're talking about pharma products and Nutra products?
So yeah, I love that question. So we always start at the beginning. The beginning is the active, right? So we have to understand in what form the active comes and what are the characteristics. In my experience, most of the ingredients we work with, they come in a powder form. So, and then depending on what you want to do with it, there are different ways. Some of the actives, they come in a liquid form. So then you have to either way transfer them to a powder, or you can fill them as a liquid into soft gel capsules, or you can put them into drinks, etc. But if we stick with the powders, obviously you can buy products. Fitness market is very strong at that in powder forms. So our job then, or where we support, is that we understand, or we try to understand, is the flowability good? Because that's what you need for packaging, but as well for dosing for the customer. And then you need to understand if they're very hygroscopic. That means if they're very moisture sensitive and they would start lump or whatever. So based on that, we would add further ingredients to stop that or to make the flowability better. And then you have a great powder mixture that you can use. If we speak about capsules, it's basically the same as powder, so it has to have good flowability. It should not be too sensitive to moisture. And then you need a lubricant so that these two-piece capsules, that they stick together and don't break. When you want to do tablets, basically, it's again the same thing. You need good flowability, take care of the moisture issues. You need the lubrication, but as well, you need a binder so that the tablet actually gets hard. And then, depending on what goal is, you have to add a disintegrant so that you get the release profile that you are aiming for. And then you mentioned granules, so that's one way to as well get a good flowability. You can use granules as they are. You can add the capsules. You can compress them to tablets, or you can leave them as they are, and you can coat all three of them. So you can coat granules, you can coat tablets, and obviously capsules, soft gels, and two-piece capsules. And then why do you do the coating? Depends on your delivery form and what you want to achieve. They are fast dissolving coatings, they're enteric coatings, sustained release coatings. So there are a lot of options to go there. And the second part of your question with pharma and Nutra, again, In pharma, you have way more excipients. So to achieve that target is a little easier. Tablets are not a little smaller. Capsule sizes tend to be smaller. And for supplements, because of that high load of vitamins, minerals that we try to achieve, the tablets get bigger, the capsules get bigger. And as well, what I've seen, supplements, especially like herbs, plant extracts, they're a little bit harder to work with because they're natural. So as well, from batch to batch, they vary. In a pharma environment, the actives are always the same quality, same grade. So I don't want to say pharma is easier, but Nutra definitely has its own challenges to solve.
Sounds like it. So you used a word that I'm not familiar with, but I think I can piece together what it means. Flowability. Does that just mean how easy it is, or how easy it is to flow? Maybe less sticky? Can you define flowability?
Yes. So the flowability is if you put the powder in a tube and you would kind of turn the tube the other way around, how the angle is to get all the powder flowing. And you need to know this because when you fill capsules or when you produce tablets, this flowability influences the speed in which you can produce. So if the flowability is not very good, so the powder stops, you have to run the machine slower, but as well, you could have different results. So one capsule could be only filled halfway, or a tablet could be weight variations. So flowability is really, really important to manage and to keep an eye on that.
Great, thanks. A little bit of physics in with our chemistry and other aspects of the science. Will you please walk our listeners through what the manufacturing process is for tablets and capsules? Maybe because you and I have chatted a little bit, maybe you can start with a little bit of the history. How old is the process of tableting and capsuling? Maybe when was the first pill produced? I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, sure. So a couple of years ago, I went to a museum I think it was in Vienna. So it was a very small museum, and it was about this. So, and I made some research on that. So basically, even in ancient Egypt, they started rolling different herbs and spices together with honey, etc., to get as a supplement or as a medicine. So it's really, really old technology. Obviously, they rolled it and didn't really compress it. And they didn't even call it pill. So the name pill came in from a Roman pilula, and that was like 50 AD. So that's kind of when this name pill came up, and it was still rolled. And then before we do coating, there was in the Middle Ages, they started kind of coating, and they even used silver and gold for being fancy. So they had like rolling equipment where they basically rolled those balls or those pills, and then they get this shiny result. In the 1800s, they started to doing sugar coating so that you can just easier consume those products. And as well, especially the taste probably was not as good. So with the sugar coating, taste is improved. And then the real tableting process started around 1840, where William Biogrund basically invented and patented the tableting machine. So he was the first one to compress a powder into a tablet. And yeah, then from there on, we kind of know that the industry has been developing great. There are a lot of great equipment manufacturers out there. Obviously, the technologies have changed, but in summary, the process is since that time has not really changed. So we take powder. Obviously, you have to add certain ingredients to make the process easier to get better results. But you take the powder, and either way you fill it into the two-piece capsule, which today is very easy process. The lubricant just makes sure that those two pieces that they slide into each other so they don't like break. And for tablets, you fill the powder into a die, and then you have the upper and the lower tooling, and there are different types of equipment, but they come together, put pressure on the powder, and if based on that, you get the tablet. Obviously, again, you need an amount of binder in that, you need a lubricant, otherwise the tablet might get stuck in there. So many different factors goes into it, but the technology basically is pretty simple.
So for tableting, a lubricant would be used to make sure it doesn't stick to the tooling, but a lubricant for capsules is so that you can slide the two halves together more easily.
Yes, exactly.
Is that right?
Yes, 100%.
Cool. So from your experience, what's the most common type of dosage form in Nutra, and why do you think that is?
So I believe it's capsules. So we see this a lot. Most of our clients work with two-piece capsules because it's pretty easy to do. And as well, it doesn't require as much of excipients as a tablet does. It has some downsides because it's harder to coat a two-piece capsule, so it's easier to coat tablets. But the majority, I would say, is two-piece capsules, followed by regular tablets, because you have as well chewable tablets, so you can't really do a chewable capsule. So chewable tablets, but as well film-coated tablets are like following right behind that.
So at Biogrund, I know that you support coloring of products. Is there a most popular color in the Nutra space, and maybe a most popular color in the pharma space?
So in pharma, let's start with that. Most people go for white, especially like over-the-counter products. It's white. Yeah. When it's like really special medicine, they like to add colors because then it's easier to differentiate between different dosage strength, etc. But normally, pharma is more like light coloring. In the Nutra space, and that's kind of depends on who you ask. We have very brilliant and nice and strong colors. We work a lot with orange and purple. That's many requests we get. But as well, we have many people now asking for clear, because then the consumer can see the tablet and it can see basically the imperfections of the tablet. So it's not all homogeneously, it's like different herbs and whatever put together, so they can see it's natural. So that's why we have that difference in that approach.
Oh, interesting. I like that. It's because you've worked all over the world. Are there differences in, let's just say, color between what you're seeing in North America versus Europe versus, I know you worked in India, or is it pretty much the same anywhere you go in the world?
I think, each color represents like has a different meaning in different countries or in different continents. But in general, I would say that in America, we work more with like really brilliant and strong colors. In Europe, I see it's a little less. In India, I have seen a lot of white because there's a lot of pharmaceuticals going on. But here in America, we really see the strongest colors from my point of view.
Wow, that's fascinating to me, that culturally you can have a different product just based on what the consumer is looking for. Excellent.
Yeah.
What dictates the choice of tablet versus capsule for a nutraceutical product?
So I believe in the end, the brand has to decide. You do your research and you see what is already out there. So I think that's a big thing, to see what the market already has and to make it different. But obviously the biggest point is that you have to, what do you want to achieve? Where is the supplement? Where should it work? And then if it works great in the mouth, then obviously a chewable tablet or a fast dissolving tablet is the best choice. If it's a regular powder that should open up in the stomach, a two-piece capsule might be good. If it's a liquid, soft gel is the best choice. But if, for example, you need an enteric coating on something because you want it to open in the intestine and not in the stomach, then a tablet would be the better choice because it's easier to coat. And as well, in capsules, I believe personally that because of this small gap, which is still there, there's still a little moisture which can come into the powder. With tablets, when you put a moisture sealing coating on top, that can't happen. So you really have to understand what does your product need and what do you want to achieve.
Have you seen sustained or extended release formulations in Nutra products, or is that something that's just much more common in pharma?
It's way more, especially here in the US, way more in pharma. In Europe, we see it as well. I've seen it in Germany a lot of times, where you have this in nutraceuticals as well. So basically, that they tell you instead of one in the morning, one in the afternoon, you can just take one in the morning. It will be good for all day. But I haven't seen this here too much, but we see a rising amount of projects in that regards.
Oh, interesting. Let's see that adoption of a technology crossing over from pharma to Nutra. I guess that's not too uncommon. So earlier in our discussion, you had mentioned the phrase clean label. Can you tell me a little bit more about what clean labeling means in the nutraceutical field?
So the most important about clean label is that it's a consumer-driven trend. So it's not that the industry sat down and said, okay, let's do something different. No, it was really consumers demanding in a certain way that they want to have more natural products. You can see this as well in food, that people want to be more traditional, have more like food without certain ingredients. So I try to categorize the clean label into 3 steps. The first step being it should be free of certain ingredients. So titanium dioxide is a big topic in Europe. It is used as a white pigment in coatings. Silicon dioxide as a flowing aid is a big one. And magnesium stearate as a lubricant is another big one. So you see especially the last 2 I mentioned, we talked about them already because flowing aid is very important, and the lubricant is very important. The next category would be that the product should be all natural or it should be plant-based. So that's kind of the second step I see. And the third step would be it should be all organic, so organic certified. The first 2, there's no really guideline for it. There's no rules. It's just kind of what does the brand think their consumers want or need. And for the third, the organic, obviously there's a relation part of it. So you can get your products organic certified, and then you have the organic label on the product.
So my background is as a scientist, and I love to see evidence. So is there any evidence that non-clean labels were causing any health effects, or is this just part of the organic trend where everybody just wants to go natural, maybe without any empirical evidence?
Yeah, so from what I have seen in Europe, this titanium dioxide challenge came up because of nanoparticles in sunscreen, which came from titanium dioxide. I don't know how they made some research on that. I'm not 100% sure with the outcome. I think there was no scientific evidence that the titanium dioxide used in supplements, that it actually creates harm. As well for the other ingredients, I don't believe that there's scientific evidence. So it's more a consumer-driven trend that we see. But in general as well, I believe if there is a natural alternative, which is less processed, let's say, it's a good thing. But we have always to keep an eye to balance being natural and then being efficient in our production process.
Certainly. And it doesn't hurt anything to go natural, have clean labels. So I think, in my view, seems like the right direction for the industry to be moving towards.
Yes, exactly.
So we kicked off our discussion talking about growth in the nutraceutical industry. Where do you personally see the Nutra market heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
So what I see, and I think it's already starting, many companies try to offer tailor-made or customized supplements. So that means it's either way for a specific group. Many companies, when you want to buy their products, you go through a questionnaire, what do you want to achieve, what are your problems, maybe even age, height, stuff like that. So we are going into a direction where you really don't buy just out of the shelf, but as well where you really do a tailor-made or customized for you approach. So I see this. I see as well that we get new actives in. There's a lot of research done, a lot of tests, what kind of foods, because the food and the supplement industry is pretty connected, where you can see what benefits does certain foods have and how can we create supplements out of those. So there's a lot of movement always in this industry. So again, we will see new actives coming in. There will be new studies made, what benefits those actives may bring. So yeah, it's definitely a very fast moving industry, and it's always very interesting to be part of it.
Great. Well, how is Biogrund preparing for those changes?
So I think Biogrund is always very close to the customers. So we listen to them, and we want to be basically a solution provider. So many of our products that we have in our portfolio are a result that we have listened to the industry and helped them out, like coatings without titanium dioxide, that we had customers for it. So we worked on it and came back with a solution. So I think working very close with our customers is the best way to be prepared for all those changes.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit more about your company, Biogrund, and maybe a little bit of history, what you do? I know I gave a little teaser up front of our discussion, but it's probably best coming from you.
So Biogrund was founded in 1999. So we are going to have 25 years next year. So that's a big one. Founded in Germany. So that's where we have a production, development. And if I say development, it's to adjust our colors, to adjust our products in general, to customize them. But as well, we have an application laboratory where we can do tableting trials and coding trials. And in 2014, we came here to the United States just to expand and as well to have a backup site. So that's where I'm located now. We used to be in Virginia. In 2019, we moved to Kentucky in Shelbyville because we needed more space. And here we have like the same concept as in Germany. So same machines. We have a development department. We have an application laboratory where we can do those trials. And I think in general, the most important, again, about Biogrund is when we started, it was only about film coating. And then because the market changed and Biogrund changed with the market, we added all of those, we call it compact cell range, for tablets and capsules being suitable for clean label. So Biogrund is really working very, very close with the customers to understand what they need for this specific project and then react on that.
Great. Thank you for that summary. So when we first met, you told me a fun story about the origins of Biogrund's name. If you don't mind repeating that story here, I think it would be a perfect segue into my trivia question for you. So there's a little hint for what's coming.
So Biogrund, the name biological, and Grund is the German word for ground. So the founder, his first job in doing Biogrund was distributing biological microorganisms for the green ground. So basically fertilizers for greens and grass and golf greens, stuff like that.
I like that. So I'm going to stick with a little word trivia as the theme for today. As you know, we always do trivia. We end every conversation with a little bit of fun. So here is my question for you. What 11-letter word starts and ends with the letters U and D?
Wow, that's a tough one. I don't know.
The
I don't
answer
even have
is
a guess.
underground.
Oh,
Underground
wow.
is the
Okay.
answer
Okay. Yeah,
to
now I
that
get the
one.
grunt in the ground. Okay.
Yes.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had another one for you, but I had a discussion on Monday with a friend who was just in Germany, and he lives in America too. So his question was, and I like to steal it from him: are there more castles in Germany or more McDonald's in America?
Oh boy, that's a really hard one. Oh my goodness. I've been on road trips in both Germany and in America. You do see a lot of castles on a road trip in Germany, but I don't think there's as many as there are McDonald's. So I'm going to go with McDonald's in America. More.
Okay, it's 13,500 McDonald's in America and 25,000 castles.
No
Yeah,
way. Really? Oh my
yeah,
goodness. That's great. That's a great piece of trivia. I like that.
yeah.
No, I'll need to just go
Great.
and visit. I'll just start my checklist of visiting all those castles in Germany.
Yeah, it will take a while.
I think so. I think so. So thank you for that question. Thank you for this conversation today. I'd like to thank our guest, Benjamin Stephan from Biogrund. I know my knowledge of the Nutra field has skyrocketed during our talk today, and I'm sure our audience has learned a lot as well. Nutraceutical products are gaining in popularity, and if you haven't personally taken the supplement, it's likely that you know someone who has. After today's episode, you now know a little bit more about these pills and where they're made. So thank you for listening. I look forward to discovering more with you on the next episode of Machines and Medicine. Bye.